This screencast is going to explain how to find the volume of rectangular prisms. So finding volume of a shape is a pretty simple task. However, understanding what volume tells us is probably the more important part of finding the volume of a shape. So it's going to be important that you understand that volume is the amount of three-dimensional space an object occupies. So you're looking at how much space can be filled inside of a shape, a 3D shape. So if you think of a sandbox, how much sand could go inside a sandbox? That would be volume. If you think about a fish tank, how much water can fit inside that fish tank? That would be filling something. So if you're filling something, you're referring to volume. To find the volume of a rectangular prism, you're just going to identify the length, the width, and the height of the shape, and then multiply them together. So let's go ahead and do some examples, but before we get to that, let's just review that this is on our formula sheet over underneath our rectangular prism, which is one of our 3D shapes on our formula sheet. We're going to specifically look at the formula that has a V in front of it. V stands for volume, and then your LWH is your length, your width, and your height. So let's go ahead and practice. As you can see, I have the formula written at the top of the screen. It's going to be important that we identify our length, our width, and our height. So this is going to be my length, my width, and my height. I just want to make sure that I'm using all three numbers. Sometimes you'll have the same numbers and you just want to make sure that you're using each one of them one time. So I'm going to multiply 7 times 2 times 5, and then once again I like to just chunk it, so 7 times 2 is 14 times 5, or if you can find an easier way to do this without typing it in a calculator, you could have seen that 2 times 5 is 10, times 7 would be 70. So my volume for this shape would be 70 centimeters, and then my answer is actually going to be cubed because I'm multiplying 3 of the same measurements or labels together. So there's 3 of them, so my volume measurement would always be cubed. So let's take a look at another example. So once again, we're going to do length times width times height. So this could be my length, this is my width, this is my height. So I'm going to do 5 times 10 times 2. 5 times 10 is 50, times 2 is 100. So my answer would be 100 meters cubed. Once again, volume is not difficult to find or to calculate. It's more understanding what this means. So this means that in this box, we could fit 100 cubic meters of something. That's how much space is inside the box. That's how much it would take to fill up the inside of that box. So let's go ahead and have you guys try one of these problems. Remember, length times width times height. So fill in what you know, and then hit play to check your answer with mine. So this particular problem, the volume would be 60 cubic meters or 60 meters cubed. And we're going to try one more. So you're going to try one more on your own. Once again, go ahead and press play whenever you think you have an answer. So once again, in this particular problem, your volume would be 128 cubic feet. And that just tells us that inside this box, we could fit 128 cubic feet of something. So you could think about blocks. Maybe we could fit 128 blocks if they're each 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, and so on. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what that means. So once again, volume of a rectangular prism. Volume is the measure of the amount of space inside a solid figure, like a cube, ball, cylinder, or pyramid. In this particular case, we're thinking more of a box because that's what a rectangular prism is. It's a box. It's always, its units are always cubic. That is the number of little element cubes that fit inside the figure. So we might have centimeters cubed, or feet cubed, or inches cubed, and so on. So that's just, remember that volume is always cubed. It's a little 3 above. So remember one other thing, that your formula is length times width times height, and that can be found on your formula sheet.